Zbigniew Seifert was a great musician, and not only for Krakow and for Poland, but also for Europe and the rest of the world, and for his instrument. He found a way to speak in a very modern language on the violin, so it sounded not, he broke free from the tradition of swing violin, of the various, like Stuff Smith and Stefani Grappelli had their style, but he achieved independence from them and found a way to make the violin sound very modern and powerful. And he developed this hard driving kind of accent that made the violin sound as modern as a saxophone or a trumpet. And he always said that he followed Coltrane in his efforts to play the violin. So, and I think he was quite successful. I'm very, very sorry he had such a short career, because he had a wonderful gift. Personally, I had a great time playing with him as an oboe player and woodwind player. Our instruments were a very good blend, and both had this classical background. And the repertoire for the oboe and the violin is very famous. Concerti by Bach and other composers that feature these two instruments together. So this was nice in the improvising situation to be able to use the voices of our two instruments together to make a fresh, new sound.
I can only second what Paul says. His approach to the violin was just extremely fresh. When he sent me his album Man in the Light, I played it for saxophonists in New York, and they were completely taken by it. Benny Wallace particularly said that this was the way that all saxophonists wished that they could play, because he had taken so much from Coltrane and he made it so clear. The violin is such a clear instrument. So he became able to do that, but able to also, in his work that he did for the recording that I did with him, he could improvise in any direction. He had many ideas far beyond anyone else I ever played with to go in so many directions with such drive and such clarity. And it was a great thrill to be able to play with him and to know him.
His style and our style blended very well. The instruments blended very well, and we almost felt in a way like this was a fifth member of the group. It really had a great fit for us. And we had challenges because with the violin and the oboe, they're so specific that you have to work very hard to get them well in tune. But we managed to do that. And also, we were dealing with a harmonic language that was a little different from some of the modal harmonies that Spiggy had worked with. So we had to work to learn what scales to use and how to express the music. But there's one piece of big, long improvisation, I think called Violin. It's maybe like 15, 18 minutes long. And it takes up the whole first side of the record. Just us moving through all these different worlds and commenting and playing off each other. And there's another piece called Friend of the Family that was dedicated to Spiggy. It's composed by Ralph Towner. And it had that feeling of like someone in the same family. And there's a piece called Serenade. It's the last piece on the first side. It's just violin, I guess violin, guitar, and just do a duo. Or is there bass in
there? I think
there?
there's bass on it.
Yeah. And it showed off the very poetic side of Spiggy's playing, the more lyrical, expressive singing side of his playing. So there was a lot of interesting music, and we didn't have a great amount of time to do it, but we had good music to play, and the improvisations were going so well, we went with that, and took the liberty of putting a big long improvisation on the record.
We played this flageolet piece, which is a piece based on harmonics of the bass, and when presented it to Zbigniew, he said, "Oh, well, then we should play it on the harmonics of the harmonics," and he made it a very high-level piece. And we did a recording of that for the violin album, and also made almost a symphony of it on the Introducing Glen recording with David Darling. And he had always forward many ideas of possibility. It was an extremely positive and open approach to the instrument and to music. It was thrilling. Well, that was like a dream come true, being able to choose the people and choose the music, so that I had a kind of a dream that it should be possible to play with two other string players and to kind of cover the register of the string quartet plus the lower register of the bass. And with Zbigniew and David Darling, with Jan Hammer playing drums as well, I was really able to, we were able to achieve that with these players. And in that situation, Zbigniew pretty much, though the music was mine, he conducted the music. He conducted David, had myriad suggestions for how things could be, and just live in the improvisations, he would kind of conduct those too. Like he could hear the possibility and would urge us in at different places, and so it was a dream come true. And he was very, because he was also recording Passion at the same time, he felt that there was one day of rehearsing the forms, just a part of a day, and then he went to work on Passion, and the next day came and had part of a day to do 4 different pieces for that album. And he felt like, he came to me the week after and said, he said, I didn't play well. I didn't play well. We have to go into the studio again, just you and I. We have to go and make up for this. And I had been listening to the recordings. I said, Zbigniew, I would love to go in again, but you finished Passion, and then he was leaving for Buffalo for medical treatments. And I said, what you did was fantastic, and I played him some of the things that he'd done, and he listened to it and said, oh, okay, and decided that it was good enough that he could accept it.
So you didn't go to the
No,
studio
I'm
again?
very sorry I didn't, but there wasn't really time in his schedule to do it.
I think having a competition under the name of Zbigniew Seifert is a wonderful idea, because he is such a national figure, and has made such a difference on his instrument in the musical world, that having a competition that would bring up young players who are trying to achieve something great could be a great event. And not only who wins and loses, but the focus and the interest that it focuses on music, jazz, and the violin, and Zbigniew. It's a very, very good idea.
Yes, I agree. It can only help. I know many young violinists, after Introducing Glen came out, wrote to me and about how much that music meant to them. Darrell Anger, the young violinist, started the Turtle Island String Quartet because he heard that record. And Mark Feldman said to me that for the next 5 years after he heard that, he tried to become Zbigniew. It was such a grand influence on him. So many people, if he could just be heard by more people, it would be very good for the violin, for Zbigniew's memory, for Krakow, for Poland. Everyone would benefit.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.